Hey, friends, welcome back to the Call to Lead podcast. So, I'm super excited to roll out another core value of our brand new direct sales company, Restore Collective. So, today's episode is going to be all about what has become quite the buzzword, at least in the beauty and skincare space, and that is sustainability. But today, I'm going to be talking to you about the deeper reason why we chose this word as it relates to many different facets of our business when it comes to our product, our comp plan, and honestly, the root of why we are doing it. And so, we're going to dive all into this week's core value, which is sustainability. All right, guys. So, I'm going to start off this episode with a little kind of a secret. So, when I very first presented the 12 core values that had come to my heart with Roger, and we were brainstorming on which ones to include and really kind of diving deeper on each of them and bringing lots of different ideas to the table until we landed on our official 12. This one in particular, sustainability, was one that we had a lot of back and forth discussion on because I think when I said sustainability, what Roger heard was more the environmental side of things, which of course is something that we and all of us should be focused on and believe in. But I think he thought that was the only reason I was saying it was like using some kind of industry buzzword or something as like a marketing pitch or a marketing ploy that, to be honest, in the development of our products and our packaging and all of the things, it's everywhere right now. So he wanted to make sure we weren't just using trendy language to throw some values out there in hopes that it would, be inspiring to others. And I said, no, 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 let me explain why I think this actually is a beautiful word to describe what we are building here with Restore Collective as it relates to sustainability as the buzzword, but also, and more importantly, as the original definition that we will share today. And actually, I'll start there and then I'll dive into the verse itself. And speaking of definitions, actually, if you look up the definition for the word restore, that was actually the inspiration behind our logo, which has the word re and then a dot and then a store. And so this is intentional for a few reasons. One, we are kind of a restore. You'll see that we have a renewal molecule that is an exclusive cellular rebuilding topical immunotherapy in our skincare, which I'll be talking more about with our focus groups in the coming weeks. So make sure you're plugged into our focus groups by filling out the survey and getting connected with and aligned with one of our founding partner mentors so you can stay in the loop on that. But you would not believe how many words, refillable, reorderable, renewable, rebuilding, all of these things, all of these words that kind of make us say restore. But when we partnered with our graphic designer to create our logo, he had the awesome inspiration to kind of inspire it after the definition of restore. And so if you think about it, when you look up the definition, and here I'll look up the definition on Google for restore and we'll read it off because it's pretty special. But when you search that, it kind of comes up with like the re.store to focus on the syllables and how you actually pronounce it. But according to Google, restore with a little dot says bring back a previous right, practice, custom, or situation, reinstate. The policy restored confidence in the banking system is the example they used. Then there's return someone or something to a former condition, place, or position. And then there's repair or renovate to return to its original condition. And so that word has such deep meaning. And when you see the word restore and when you see our logo, know that it's tied to the actual definition of restore. But back to the definition of today's word sustainability, because I did the exact same thing. So I said, okay, hey, Google, what, what is the definition of sustainability? The first definition that comes up is the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. So what that means is it's stable, right? Like sustainability. It's creating something that can sustain a similar rate across time. And that can apply to so many different facets of your life and of your business. And so sustainability also, when I Googled, it showed like this really cool graph of how like back in the 50s, not even that long ago, the word was hardly used at all. And now it's like skyrocketing in popularity, but that's more based on the second definition, which is the avoidance of the depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. And so sustainability has now shifted into this buzzword to encompass all things on how to be better stewards of our environment. So then that got me thinking the way to kind of tie these together is to go and dive into the best place to find direction on any core value, which is the Bible. And so the verse associated with our core value of sustainability is Second Corinthians 9:6, which says, the point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. And so, again, this kind of speaks to planting seeds, which sustainability can mean literally planting seeds in the environment to, bring in like better oxygen through planting of trees. I know there are some great companies out there that literally do things like that in order to spur on and help improve our environment. But to me, this speaks to reason number one that we chose this is that we, as humans here on this earth, are called to be stewards of all that we are given, whether that's environmental, whether that's financial, whether that's the gifts and personality, whether that's the situational aspect of the life that you have been blessed with, whether that's the hard circumstances that you've had to endure or will have to endure in the future. We have to be good stewards of all of those things, the learning experiences, the seeds that have been planted with us, the seeds that we plant in others. And what this says is that whoever sows those seeds sparingly, meaning who doesn't really share those things, who kind of keeps them to themselves. So that can mean not being a cheerful giver, because I think this is from the cheerful giver, which is tied to generosity. So the people who just kind of hoard and keep their knowledge or their resources or finance, or they just aren't really worried about trying to make the world a better place, right? They're sowing sparingly. Well, this verse says they're also going to reap sparingly. And reap just refers to the fruit or the actual growth that comes from planting those seeds. And so we've already done an episode prior about the Lord is the one who makes the seeds grow, and it is our job to plant them. And so you can kind of take that pressure off of yourself. But this is saying that if you sow sparingly, you're going to reap sparingly. But the inverse of that is whoever sows bountifully, and I think that's such a beautiful word, bountifully, will also reap bountifully. So this to me is an invitation to really take everything that we have been given, which is the experience in entrepreneurship, the experience in direct sales, the God-given inspiration and wisdom, and the amazing people that have become a part of this, and lean into that responsibly of sowing and hopefully doing that in a way that's bountifully with all of you guys, so that not just us, but that you can join us in that reaping bountifully as well. So the first reason is all about because we need to be good stewards of what has been given to us. And so that's the first reason why we decided to choose the word sustainability. So and if you guys can hear my dogs barking in the background, side note, this is hilarious. So we live on a river. Here, I'll see if I can whip it around and show you guys. So if you can see that marsh right across the river there are marsh hogs, which who even knew that was a thing, and them decided to swim across the river, come into our neighborhood in one of the yards, and it's hanging out in our front yard. So we have, I don't know, 400 or 500 pound wild hog. It's literally hanging out in our yard, and my dogs are going crazy. So sorry if my sound editing doesn't quite fully edit it out, but that's the beauty of building a business from home. Am I right? Let's keep going. Okay, so the second reason that we chose the word sustainability is tied to both the product and the comp. And so let me explain more about that, because this is kind of something that I think is really special. So how many of you guys, if you are a woman and you grew up maybe going to the Clinique counter to get your very first iteration of your makeup, and maybe your mom, or like in my case, it was my sweet grandma, brought me to the counter and she hooked me up with my 3-step skincare system and a simple tinted moisturizer and maybe some black honey lip gloss, right? And what's wild is I know for myself and for a lot of women, that first iteration of the thing we learned about makeup, or the first skincare routine that we tried, became the sustainable or long-term option that we used until we found something that was either better or something that we liked better. And goodness knows there's abundance of options out there now in that realm. But what we hope to create with our products specifically in terms of the sustainability of the long term is we want our systems, which is basically going to be simplifying everything that you know about beauty and skincare into 3 to 5 step application processes or things that can integrate into a more advanced system if that's what you're all about. But they can also replace and consolidate essentially like a capsule wardrobe for your face. And so the way we see this working is obviously our target market is probably going to be the mama that's going to be buying it first for herself. But then what we envision is that young women, I have 2 daughters, one's 11 and one's 15, and they both are into beauty and skincare. They trying hard not to let my little one become a Sephora kid, right? Because if you haven't heard, it's wreaking havoc on the skin of young girls because they're picking up on all these like trendy ingredients and acids and anti-aging things, which obviously they do not need in middle or high school. And what's happening is it's completely disrupting their skin barrier. And so there is definitely a time and a place for some retinol, for some advanced actives. And maybe that is when they start to develop acne, kind of doing some spot treat. And eventually we'll even have some really cool things within Restore that kind of address those specifics. But what we're launching with and what the core of what we're going to do and what we're going to release are going to be the everyday essentials that truly can start off a busy mama or her teenage or preteen daughter with a routine that is sustainable for the long term. So this is something that she can use and love. And we'll talk more about the packaging in a second because that's going to be tied to the last thing. But ultimately, we want this to be something that she uses as a habit and as a routine that saves her time. That'll, like, if you're a mama, it's going to allow you more time to actually spend with your kids, right? Or spend with your teens. You can apply it on the go. I usually do mine like on the way to church or like in the car if my husband's driving. And the cool part is all of our systems are going to be super portable. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see our Beauty Edit bag, which has been shared with our focus group, which makes it to where you can grab it on the go or even use it. Like I have one who's going to take an extra one with her when she travels to her daughter's softball games. And so she wants one for her bathroom and one for on the go. And that's the kind of sustainability that we want is something product wise that people will want to use and love for the long term. We're not talking about trendy products. We're talking about the basics and the things that most women are looking for and consolidating them into a simplified routine in packaging that also does fit the buzzword of sustainability that we'll get to in just. So the comp plan is also something that we want to be sustainable. So what I mean by that is when we worked with some of the very best comp plan designers in the industry, there's really several out there that are well known, but this one in particular is known for creating sustainable comp plans. And most of the ones that they've done for companies, decades ago, and they've been doing it for a really, really, really long time for like, I don't even know how many different companies. And about of the 100 top companies, direct sales companies in the world, they worked with 30 of them. So a third of them either on the front end as they built their business, or what they often do is they do a lot of consulting on the back end when companies need to come in and change their comp, which is terrifying, I'm sure, on the corporate side. Their goal is, first of all, not to ever, like our plan is designed to be sustainable for the long term. We do not intend to make changes to our plan. And when we do, and small little tweaks and things like that can be common, but I'm not talking about like big, crazy, scary changes because we've baked that in to where we could even potentially add some things down the road. So it's very conservative, but it's generous. It's based on our margins. It's based on our systems. It's tailored specifically to us. And it's built by the people who have worked with countless companies who've had to come to them to help fix what was a broken plan designed by some of the other folks out there. And so we are so excited that our plan is from the get-go, one that we would consider highly sustainable for the long run. The other cool thing is you might have heard us talk about the 5 pillars of our product and everything. And it's safe, it's simple, it's seasonal, it's smart, and it's sustainable. And that applies to our comp plan as well. And so the seasonality of it also helps you to be able to come to this business in whatever season you're in, knowing that that can and likely will change. And it's kind of a phased approach within our compensation plan where not only can you choose, for example, to be an advocate and be more affiliate focused with no team building, but if you do choose to go the partner path, which is designed to build and grow your business, it's broken down into sustainable phases where we will guide you through basing each phase on practices that will help get you to the next level if that's what you choose to do. And so through that, whatever season or phase of your business you're in, we have created something that will reward you along the way and will guide you along the path to success, whatever that looks like to you. And it's going to be different for all of us. And so even our comp plan is designed with sustainability in mind, which again just goes back to the fact that we want to sow bountifully so that we all, you included, can reap bountifully from the beautiful facets of the product and the wisdom and all of the things that are coming straight from the source, right? The word. So that is reason number 2. Reason number 3 is where we're finally going to kind of dive into the actual buzzword of sustainability. And so while we are not going to be like one of those companies that's like, all of our products are going to be, whatever the most sustainable thing is, I'm not going to say that we're going to be able to choose every single one of the most sustainable choices because you can't have all the things. You can't have the best price, the best product, the most clean, the most sustainable, have a startup, have all of those things. And so what we're doing is we are committing to work towards as sustainable as packaging as we can make happen along the way. But the cool thing about our packaging as it is sustainable relative towards a lot of what you see out there is how often have you bought a beautiful bottle? Maybe it's one of the glass dropper bottles, or maybe it's something that came in a gorgeous box. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to throw this away. This is so beautiful. And it feels so wasteful to just toss it in the trash or toss it in the recycle bin, if that's something that's important to you. And so what happens is you either keep them and then you've got a ton, you're like a hoarder, or you're tossing it, which a lot of times those really nice high-end materials, even if it's not plastic, which sometimes gets a bad buzzword, they're not things that biodegrade quickly, and they're not things that are actually going to wind up in a recycle bin at all. And so they're really not technically sustainable. And so what happens, and we've even had some of our vendors say, they're like, listen, we'll whitewash it however you want to. But the fact is, most of the people are still going to throw things away. So then we thought about, okay, well, how can we make sure that less things wind up in the trash, right? If that's the problem, is people are just going to toss it, whether it's an outer box or whether it's the packaging when they're done. And so what we have decided to do, and I will show you one of our packaging that is actually our package, is a couple of things. So one, you're not going to have to, for example, this little guy here, you don't have to keep up with the cap, which is really nice. Everything's all together. It's transparent on the outside, so you can see the inner workings on the inside, which also reflects the values of our company. But here's what's cool. And this one eventually, not right for the pre-launch, but it is refillable. And so we're going to work towards all of our products, or as many as we can, to have actual refillable packaging to where you aren't replacing the part that, let's be real, costs sometimes a significant portion, sometimes in certain companies, not really ours, but in certain companies, sometimes it can be the most important, most expensive facet of what you're. So instead of having to toss that, all you're doing is recycling the inner component, ordering another one at a discount, and then popping it in yourself. And so our makeup specifically will also be that same concept where we will have, it will be a tin and a curated palette. Our tins are the most beautiful gold. I love them so much. They were made specifically for us. They were also made to be more sustainable and seasonal in that they're designed to last you, each of the different products are designed to last about 2 to 3 months, so that when you go to reorder, you're going to be ordering at about the same rate. And so you don't have to order every month, but maybe every couple of months, 2 to 3, depending on the usage, you're going to be able to order each of the little different things at an affordable price point because you're not having to pay for the external packaging. You're just essentially buying the refill. Same thing, the palette itself. And I wish I had one to show you, but it is in production. But it is the most gorgeous, fully custom palette that we are doing that is not something that you are ever going to have to throw away. It is meant to not just be a restore palette, but it can be customized even with a monogram, kind of a DIY gold letter monogram that we'll tell you more about, so that it's not just a restore palette, it's your palette. Or if I were buying it for my 15-year-old, it would be Lawson's palette. And so that's the idea, is it's highly giftable for one. For two, it's all you really need is that one simple compact system that you can refill along the way. And now if you're an all the things girl, you will also be able to buy an extra one of the palettes, and you can of course put extra things. It also has a really unique refillable or removable inner divider component that we like to call it kind of like training wheels. And again, I'll have to tell you more when you can actually visibly see it, because you might be really confused right now. But just know that our packaging is sustainable because you're not going to be having to throw away a ton of this beautiful packaging. You're going to be able to refill it and be able to kind of take advantage of that as well. So we're really, really proud of that. And we are working towards, so for example, this bottle is one that at the beginning might not have the post-consumer recycled plastic, because we do need to get it to market as quick as we can. But it's one that we absolutely can work towards when things get rolling. And so that's a perfect example, just in transparency, that we do want to work towards all of our products being using the post-consumer recycled plastic, which is basically just an after the fact. And then, of course, really making sure the materials and everything that we source are great for the environment as well. So if you are a crunchy girl and you are really looking for a product that does focus on sustainability, that is definitely something that we want to work more and more towards. And it's something that we're keeping at the forefront of every decision that we make. And so I hope that that makes sense. So we're not using it as a marketing ploy. We're also not making promises that we can't keep to say, like, every single thing that we're going to have is refillable, or everything is going to be PCR plastic. Or, again, what's really funny is our dropper, this is the right color, but this is our amazing dropper for our elixir, which I can't also wait to tell you more about. But our elixir is, believe it or not, it's not a glass bottle, which some people might say, oh, is plastic, like more or less recyclable than glass? Well, what we learned from our formulators is, first of all, it's a lot heavier. So shipping and the fuel costs associated with shipping it are actually much more. Most of the time with the glass, it's not getting actually recycled. It's just getting thrown away. And it's certainly not getting reused, as we envision ours to. And then it's not made with something that's post-consumer recycled most of the time. And then there was another piece to it. Oh, yes. And also it breaks on the line. And what happens with that is, if something doesn't line up, and this happens quite a bit, or if it doesn't line up, or if something breaks, they have to shut down the entire production line, which wastes tons of time, tons of resources, and causes a ton of problems. So we actually had multiple people advise us and guide us not to use glass, even though it's quite the buzzword in the sustainability field. And so it depends who you ask, and just know that we're listening and we're learning and growing along the way. But again, this little dropper bottle and a forthcoming refillable option is going to be a really cool way for us to lean into the sustainability piece. So I hope that that gives you a little peek inside the reasons that we chose sustainability as our core value. And so just to summarize, first of all, the reason that we do that is because it's our responsibility to be good stewards of everything on this earth that we've been given. Both the physical resources, both the gifts, the experience, the talents, the money, the financial things, all of it, we are meant to sow bountifully so that we can reap bountifully. Then reason number two is that we want this thing to be something that is used and loved, consumed and enjoyed for the long run, which speaks to the sustainability, the original definition of sustainability. And then finally, we will be leaning into as sustainable components as makes sense for each one of our products that we source, just to be good stewards of our environment, as that is something that we are hearing is more and more important to you and to your customers. And so I'm going to wrap us up today, and I'm so thankful for you listening to yet another core value episode today. Lord, thank you so much for just everything that you have given us, every bit of wisdom, each one of these values that are rooted in your word and in your example. And so specifically when it comes to sustainability, help us all to not lean into some splashy marketing buzzwords, but instead to the definition that you have called us to, which is truly to just sow and plant seeds from what we've been given, knowing that you will water them, you will help them grow. And the more we do that, the more we sow bountifully, the more we will reap accordingly. And so just help people listening to be able to discern how to apply that to their business and to reflect on the ways that Roger and I, are building and baking those into everything from our products to our comp plan and to really everything that we do in the development of this company. So just thank you for everything that we've been given. Give us the wisdom and direction to move forward as your will. And we are so grateful. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys. I'm going to go see what's happening with this hog in my front yard and see if I can shut Sadie up over there. But thank you guys for listening. And I hope you have a beautiful week.